Mark Zuckerberg shocked everyone when he went all in on the metaverse and changed Facebook to Meta.
Starting today, our company is now Meta.
And since then, everyone's been asking, how can we get in on this megatrend? Well, to answer this question, I'll rank 14 of the top metaverse projects in a tier list. This list goes from S tier to D tier, with S tier being the absolute best projects, and D tier being trash, like I wouldn't touch them even if you paid me to. But here's the thing, the metaverse is incredibly broad, so I want to organize this video by splitting these 14 projects into 4 separate categories, and those are the pure metaverse projects, the platforms for building metaverses, the metaverse accelerators, and the individual play-to-earn games. Let's go through each of these one by one, starting with pure metaverse projects. And the first one's got to be the OG metaverse, Decentraland. This is an expansive virtual world where you can run around, explore, and play various games. Now, one thing I like is that it is fully playable, because a lot of competing metaverses are still under development. But what I like even more is that so many top brands have joined Decentraland to offer their own experiences. For example, the first ever Metaverse Fashion Week was hosted in Decentraland, and it featured brands such as Forever 21, Dolce & Gabbana, and Tommy Hilfiger. That event brought over 100,000 unique visitors, and that I consider a huge success. I'm also bullish on the Decentraland DAO because it holds around $50 million in their treasury to fund various initiatives that could grow their ecosystem. But it's not all rainbows and butterflies though, because there are several things to dislike as well. For example, they have a pretty small recurring user base. I saw multiple reports that put their daily active users at under 1,000 for the past few months. So it's a pretty empty metaverse any way you slice it. Also, one of their co-founders left to build a competing metaverse called Big Time. And that worries me because even with an active DAO, I think Decentraland needs a strong core team in order to take that next step. So with all that in mind, I'm rating them a B, smack dab in the middle of the tier list. By the way, most of the research for this video was done by the team over at Crypto EQ. So if you want to go see their crypto research reports, then go check them out using my link below. Anyways, the next pure metaverse play comes from the Bored Ape Yacht Club, and it's their very own metaverse called Other Side. First and foremost, this metaverse is still under development, so you can't play anything yet. But when it goes live, you'll likely need to own one of their NFTs in order to join. And I don't really like that because every NFT collection in their universe is quite expensive, so it could be cost prohibitive for most people to join. But I will say the interest from their community is undeniable. They ran a simple stress test of their metaverse system and thousands of people showed up to help them test it out. Also, Yuga Labs, the team behind the Other Side metaverse and the Bored Ape collections, are a force to be reckoned with. They're extremely talented, they have an impressive track record, and their jaw-dropping move of acquiring CryptoPunks showed me that they have what it takes to succeed in this space. That's why I'm rating them a B, because while they are incredibly early, I've seen enough from their team to give them the benefit of the doubt. Next up, we got a famous one, the Sandbox. I mean, the name says it all. It's a virtual world sandbox type game where you can run around, explore, and build your own stuff. Some people describe it as Minecraft or Roblox, but on the blockchain. Now keep in mind that this project is still in its early access phase, so there's a lot of limitations on what builders can do in their metaverse. But they did already have their alpha seasons 1 and 2, and those were a massive success because hundreds of thousands of people played during those seasons. And most people I talked to had extremely good things to say about it, so that makes me want to play as well when season 3 comes out. They've also managed to attract big brands like Gucci, Adidas, and Snoop Dogg to join the metaverse. And I'm super excited about them adding music playability to their metaverse because that'll let artists such as Snoop to host concerts there, and that's something I'd want to check out. To be honest, there are so many things I like about the Sandbox, and I couldn't find that many serious cons, so I gotta put them in the S tier, the highest tier possible. Now let's move on to the next category of metaverse projects, builder platforms. These projects essentially help developers build their own metaverse or blockchain game. And the first one we gotta check out is Engine. These projects make it easier for developers to use NFTs in their games or apps. And one thing I really like about them is that they are innovators, because they're the ones who created the powerful ERC 1155 token standard. This standard unleashes the true power of NFTs. Like, you can upgrade them even after they've been minted, or you can send a bunch of them in a single transaction and save a ton on gas fees this way. I'm also a fan of their engine Coin, because it is designed to back all the NFTs minted through their platform. So if you're a gamer and your in-game sword is backed by 20 ENJ, then that should give you some confidence that there's some hard value behind it. This isn't just some theoretical benefit, by the way. People have already minted over 1.2 billion assets that are backed by ENJ. Now, the flip side is that the value of your in-game assets are now super tied to the price of ENJ. So if its price is volatile, then so are your assets. Something else I don't really like is that they don't have any top tier games in their ecosystem. I mean, sure, some of the titles they have are okay, but none of them are gonna bring in tens or hundreds of thousands of daily players. That being said, I'm still giving them an A because they are a solid platform with a solid track record. Next up, we got Flow, the layer 1 blockchain that Instagram just announced that they would support. That news was ultra bullish, but what I like even more are all the NFT collections on their blockchain. Flow has fully licensed collections from the NBA, NFL, and UFC, and these, plus other ones, have already done over $1 billion in all-time sales. I'm also very impressed by their tech, because they're both scalable and eco-friendly, and that's all thanks to their sophisticated architecture. And I think the biggest downside to Flow is that there's just not a lot of games on there that are playable. That's why I'm rating them a B, with the potential to go a lot higher if they continue their trajectory. Next up, we got Efinity, a blockchain that the Engine team designed because they were fed up with Ethereum's problems. So they built their own blockchain to be tailor-made for NFT use cases. And it's actually a Polkadot parachain, which I like, because Polkadot's architecture gives Efinity the scalability and security it needs to operate smoothly. Now, one thing I'm not a fan of is the Engine team's decision to expand to a 2-token model with both ENJ and EFI, because I think that's mostly unnecessary, and they should have just stuck with ENJ. Also, the Efinity platform doesn't really offer anything super unique in terms of value proposition to the broader NFT world. Maybe their $100 million Metaverse fund will do some stuff to change my mind, but in the meantime, I gotta rate them a C. Not bad, but meh. Now, before we move to my next category, I gotta warn you about buying all these Metaverse assets while being nonchalant about your security. Because you could own some great Metaverse land, for example, but if you get hacked, you're gonna lose it all in the blink of an eye. That's why you gotta protect yourself from multiple different angles by using tools like Guardio, also the sponsor of our video. Personally, I lost several $1,000s worth of ETH a few years ago when I fell for a malicious Chrome extension. But if I had Guardio back then it would have never happened, because they scan extensions to stop us from installing the dangerous ones. But that's only the tip of what they have to offer. They also block harmful sites, block intrusive notifications, and they even have an identity monitoring feature that notifies us when our personal info has been leaked. Honestly, I wish I had something like this before, and I can't recommend enough for you to secure your browser in addition to all the other security things you do. Guardio is already used by over 1 million users, and they're one of Google's featured extensions, so they're super legit. If you use my link below, guard.io/coinsider, then you can get 50% off your first month, which makes it only $5 to keep up to 5 family members safe. Alright, next up we're on to a special category of Metaverse projects called Metaverse Accelerators. I call these accelerators because they're like those startup accelerators in Silicon Valley, which give early stage startups a small amount of money to get them going. But in this case, these projects accelerate blockchain gamers instead, and they get them the premium assets they need to win games more often. So the first project in this category is called Yield Guild Games. And their strategy is to essentially buy premium NFTs, lend those out to gamers to play with them, and then take a cut of what the gamers earn. I like this concept in general, and I think they're doing something admirable by helping all those people in developing countries join this play-to-earn movement. But one thing I'm worried about is that they offer their YGG token holders a cut of the revenue generated, because that puts them smack dab in securities territory, and that may get them in trouble with regulators. So for that, plus other reasons, I'm rating them a D. Next up, we got another accelerator project called Merit Circle. Now, this project does give out scholarships like Yield Guild Games, but they also do so much more. They do investments, game incubation, and they're also creating a marketplace for in-game assets. One thing I really like about them is their strong growth. They have over 4,000 gamers under scholarship, and those gamers have collectively generated over $2 million across 50 games thus far. Merit Circle also manages over $100 million worth of digital assets, so they're quite legit, and they're doing a lot to advance the play-to-earn space. Now, one thing I don't like is that Merit Circle takes a massive 30% cut from their gamers' earnings. I mean, that's great for the project, but I don't think gamers will be okay with that deal long term. So I'm gonna rate them a B. Not bad, but not the best either. Now, it's time for the fourth category of Metaverse projects, play-to-earn games. And the first one we gotta check out is the controversial Axie Infinity. This project arguably kicked off the entire play-to-earn movement, but now some people are calling it a Ponzi. I think the numbers don't lie. During the bull market, Axie Infinity pulled some incredible numbers in terms of daily players and revenue generated. Numbers we've never before seen from a blockchain game. One thing I really like is that they were able to attract a lot of non-blockchain gamers, and many of them were able to earn quite a bit. In terms of the Ponzi accusations, I gotta disagree. I mean, sure, they should tweak their business model and perhaps add a free-to-play mode, but I think some people genuinely play it for fun, and that makes it not a Ponzi, because a Ponzi would mean that it was only speculators the entire time. Just look at the stats. We're in a deep bear market right now, but yet there are still hundreds of thousands of people playing Axie every week. So I do think this game is more sustainable than critics would like to admit. And plus, the team is planning to expand Axie into more of a metaverse, like the Sandbox or Decentraland. So that's something I'm super excited about, and I'm rating them an A in the meantime. Next up, we got a game called My Neighbor Alice, which is like Animal Crossing, but on the blockchain. One thing I really like is how approachable it is, because it is free to play and it's mainly designed for non-blockchain gamers. Anyone can play without buying their land, but if you want to buy their land, it isn't that expensive compared to land from some other games or metaverses. Now, one thing I dislike is that they're in the Binance Smart Chain ecosystem, so you gotta operate on that blockchain instead of Ethereum if you want to play. It's also currently under development, so it's quite early, but they did already release their alpha version 1. Overall, I'm not super excited about this game, so I'm rating them a C. Next up, we got a project that combines both DeFi and gaming called Aavegotchi. It's kind of like Tamagotchi, like, you know, those little handheld digital pets that us millennials used to play with.
Oh, are you hungry?
Oh, no. By all means, feed it. Play to your heart's content.
Look, Goldie, I took good care of her.
But in this case, Aavegotchis are on-chain collectible ghosts that are backed by Aave's interest-bearing tokens. So yes, these NFT ghosts actually generate yield for you if you hold them. But I actually don't like this project because it's not really a game. It's more like a DeFi or yield farming project with a slight layer of game dynamics wrapped around it. Also, it's quite expensive to acquire these ghosts. Most of them cost over $1,000. So that makes it both expensive and not very fun, which explains why its user count is in the low thousands and hasn't really grown since its launch. Honestly, I just see a lot more negatives than positives here, so I'm giving them a D rating. Next up, we have a project that I did a deep dive on before, called Gala Games. They're actually not a play-to-earn game, but rather a game studio that has a ton of these types of games under its umbrella, like Town Stars or Spider Tanks. Those you can play already, and their gameplay looks pretty dope. But what I like the most about them is that they're building out an entire gaming ecosystem, complete with their own blockchain, tokens, nodes, etc. Now, something I dislike about them is that they're trying to sell us way too many things. Like, they got licenses for their founder nodes, licenses for game-specific nodes, their Gala token, some other game-specific tokens, and add all sorts of NFTs on top of that. So it's quite complicated. It's not really clear what's better to hold if you want exposure to their ecosystem. Something else I don't like is how centralized they are. If you look at their token distribution, close to 90% of Gala tokens are held by the top 100 wallets. Not a good look for any crypto project. So with all that in mind, I'm giving them a B, because I think they have some of the best blockchain games out there, and that's ultimately what matters, right? Next up, we got DeFi Kingdoms, a project that many people don't even consider a game because they say it's more like a gamified DEX. Like, sure, you can walk around with your character and play this game, but ultimately you're just doing yield generating activities like you would do on some DEX. And I'm not sure I like that, because why do they need to complicate things so much? They should just focus on building an actually fun game or build the decks. Now, the team has said that they will add real gameplay features in the future, but I'm not gonna hold my breath for that. That's why I'm giving them a D rating. Next up, we got Gods Unchained, a free-to-play card game that's super similar to Magic the Gathering. I think their gameplay looks gorgeous, and I like how they're developed by a strong team. In fact, one of their team members, Chris Clay, used to be a game director for Magic the Gathering. I also like how they're accessible to newcomers, like their card packs don't cost that much. Maybe that's how they were able to get over 450,000 gamers in their community, an impressive number if you ask me. I guess one concern is that this game is technically still in beta, and people have reported a bunch of bugs that don't seem to be getting fixed. Also, this game is free to play, but after a while you have to buy stuff or else you just can't compete with other players anymore. All in all, I'm giving them a B rating. They're just kind of in the middle when compared to all these other Metaverse projects. Well, there you have it, my full Metaverse tier list in all its glory. Do you agree or disagree with any of these? If so, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you like these tier lists, be sure to watch this video where I rank the top stablecoins, or this one where I rank the top layer 1 blockchains.